watching Just Saying. I'm Anne-Marie Battistone. To my right is my co-host. He is a font of knowledge. And that would be our selectman, one of our selectmen, the fierce Christopher Weeder.
Oh, thank you.
In all sincerity. All right. Now, I guess we should probably also, again, say that whatever's said on here is not written in stone. It's not
the opinions of the select board.
All right. That's why we say just saying. Now, okay, this is not quite in order as what happened the other night, but we'll be okay.
Okay.
Now, these reserve police officers that they're looking for, now, when did that program start?
I guess it started in the early 80s.
So most of the present Norfolk police officers started as reservists, right?
Correct.
And I heard somebody say that they get the training on their own. What does that mean?
A lot of them pay for the schooling themselves.
They pay for it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm asking because Blythe seemed concerned about losing trained police as if the town had paid for them.
I think what she's referring to is once they become a reservist, and then they start doing training, which is paid for by the town, and then we lose them.
Oh, the training is paid
for
by
the
the
training,
town.
they get their reserve training before they come to us, but after they become a reservist, any future training we do.
Like at the academy?
Or the academy, or even driving around with an officer, that they don't want to lose them after that, because they're working them, they're training them.
I see.
So it's just losing them to other towns after we do the initial training. I think it's 6 months they ride along with an officer, which is great.
Now, what is a town way? Just a street that belongs to the town?
Yeah, it's just these are going to be streets in town that will be accepted by the town, and obviously we plow them and maintain them. So the town, part of the selectmen's job is to make sure we approve those, and then they go to town meeting where the town approves them, and we make sure the bonds have been pulled, the streets have been paved. But most streets that are not accepted by the town that have been developed, Meeting House, Liberty, have bonds on them that have to be that we make the developers take out on them to make sure they do what they say they're going to do. And so when we accept them, we want to make sure. How does it work?
Yeah.
They have to take out a bond.
What do you mean? A loan?
No, bonding. There's bonding companies, and you have to bond it for so many dollars. Yeah. So they have to bond them, and so after they're completed, before we accept them, we make sure that everything's been done on them, and that way we don't have to go after the bonds.
Now, I have a question about those. I thought that the streets were supposed to be named after veterans, but those streets are not.
No, there was a number. The first priority is veterans and people of special interest in town, and I guess for a while there was a period of time where we weren't applying that general rule.
But these are new streets.
These are all this is Liberty Lane.
Yeah.
Meeting House Way.
Saddle Ridge.
Yeah, these have all been out there. So these are just for some reason we weren't applying that principle to these streets. Now we're back to that. Obviously with the 40Bs we've done, now they're applying that again, Avery Way and some of the other ones.
But why weren't they named after vets back then?
I don't know. And it wasn't that long ago. I mean, Meeting House Way and Liberty Lane are, not that old. So I'm surprised.
Like 15 years?
Yeah, if that. So I'm surprised they were not. I think it's good that the Historical Commission has approached the town and said, hey, we should be doing this.
Well,
it's important.
The sage, Ernie Alex, was speaking.
Should we genuflect when you say his name?
And he was saying, and he said before, that there's supposed to be a list that you run through, and that this last time when there were those names, I can't think of them now, Dufree or something like that,
right.
that they came from the top of the list.
Yeah.
And so he was I don't know if he spoke to you about that or not.
He spoke briefly, but I think the Historical Commission has now put together a pretty comprehensive list, and that's good.
Yeah, but if you don't respect the order.
Well, that's it. But I think it also has to have, there should be some significance. In other words, 25 Rockwood Road, Avery was a well-known person who lived in that area. So that's why that became Avery. So you want to try to look at it in relationship to the area as well. I mean, certainly if we're doing something down in over in by Camden Chemicals, we'd want to sort of be in keeping with how that area was called long ago.
And I heard the term quitclaim deed mentioned. Isn't that, it's for mortgages and houses?
A deed, it's a deed. So it's just deed, yeah, I don't know, it was a reference to.
So deed referring to the streets?
I think the quitclaim deed was referred to, the town there's a couple of properties that the town is going to have to take a taking. just a small section of someone's property. So I think that's what Rich was referring to. They were referring to is that they're going to have
yes.
to. They need the deeds for those properties in order that they can do a land taking.
So the abutters are going to have a hearing on 11/5.
Correct. Yep.
If they feel like they've lost some of the
Yeah,
land.
if there's some
or
concern.
whatever.
If there's some
Where's
concern.
that going to be? In
I imagine it's going to be at Town Hall.
probably 124.
Right, room 124. Yep.
Now, speaking of streets, I'm going to, or rather, Speaking of streets, actually, well, no, not speaking. I'm sorry, not speaking. You said something that made me think about the roof, because I was just sitting here thinking, and I said, maybe this is going to be boring that people talk about streets. So we talk about now, not the roof.
Okay.
There's a roof at the fire department that has been leaking.
Yes.
For which you have asked for 5 years of invoices for the repairs.
Right. Right.
Because you were recently told that it was no longer a problem.
Right. Right. Trying to just, we were told that we've been told for 12 years that the roof leaked and it was a major problem, couldn't be fixed. Well, suddenly no longer leaking. So that's good news, but it certainly, I think it's hard to swallow the fact that if we had to build a new police station and a new fire station because we had a leaky roof that was no longer repairable, and suddenly now it's no longer leaking, it sort of makes you question the whole process a little bit.
Could something have gotten clogged in there and solidified?
No.
There's
two different roofs up there. There's a Sarnafil PVC roof over the fire base, and there's an EPDM roof, which is basically rubber that sits over the administrative office, and then there's obviously a shingle roof that sat over the police administrative office. It was the EPDM roof that had difficulty, but I think one of the biggest problems, short of the fact that obviously a new police station may have been warranted, is that the roof could have been fixed. So this constant being told that the roof leaks is why we need a new police station, we need a new fire station, and then all of a sudden we find out that with a couple $1,000s worth of expense, it was able to be fixed. It certainly, you start to question, did we really need these expenditures at this time? I think it's something that as we go forward, the select board will be very cognizant of, as should the town administrator, as to where we spend money.
And speaking of roofs and so forth, now which roof is over the little room in question?
That is the shingle roof, so that will probably not leak. So that's good news.
Well, that's good for them. We'll get back to the little room. Now that pole they're putting over on Ware Street, is that going to affect people's appliances and how they use their cell phones and all of that?
No, I guess it's just an enhancement. So if anything, maybe there is some, there might be some blackouts or some other issues on that area, and so that's why they want to add the additional pole. And it's down about 150 feet off of Rockwood Road, so it's not going to be a problem.
But it's in a residential area.
And it's actually very close to the rail pit, so it actually won't affect people.
Where's
the rail, the sides of the rail. So it's going to be really down there. So it's going to be in more of a wooded area down on the hill. So it's not going to be a problem. Yeah.
Now, would you say off the record, or well, I guess we're on the record, but I mean, just as an aside. Now, would you feel that you could find every place if somebody gave you an address? Could you find it on your own? Because I certainly couldn't.
Well, yeah.
And I mean, I've only lived here 24 years, so what can you expect?
I get a general feel of most. I think a lot of people, you're supposed to have a house number on your house or on your mailbox. And in Norfolk, actually, a lot of people do.
No, but I mean, could you find your way?
Could I find my way?
Yeah.
To Ware Drive? Sure.
No,
yeah.
to most places.
Obviously, I have an advantage in that I've been here a little bit longer than you, but I'm also the animal.
No, less than me. I came in 95.
Oh, okay. So I was 97, but I worked here since 94. So I've been in town since 94. And as the animal inspector,
that's true.
I've been on every street in town. So I pretty much know every area of town. So.
Oh, the barn inspection.
Yeah, so I pretty much know where everything is in town.
Now, I see that Glenn Hill, I hope he's okay, that he left the library board.
Yeah. I did not know him personally.
Oh, he's very, very nice. I interviewed him when he ran for the library board, and I had an episode where they never have what I want over there, so I used the services. Well, there were several $100s worth of books that I had, and some of them had come from Mississippi, and they were books that were no longer published. Well, I had put them all together to return them, could not find the bag, in a panic, and eventually I did, and I called him, and I said, what what are they going to do? What's going to happen? And he said, nothing. He said, you think you returned the books? You returned the books. He was just so nice to me.
Good.
And then when I did return them, I called over there and I said, oh, I'm really so sorry about the scare about the books. Not a peep. Crickets from them.
Good.
Now, it's funny to me about this business about insurance for the serving of beer at this 5K run.
Mm-hmm.
What does that cost? Do they have to pay an insurance company for like a day?
No, I guess there are certain insurance requirements that they have to do. I'm not familiar with them in any detail, but any vendor that does serve alcohol at these events, the town makes sure that they do have the proper insurances. So,
I thought Blythe was saying we had to get the insurance.
No. The vendor has to have the insurance. They have to provide insurance because obviously you have people drinking and then going off site. So, I guess they just could not get the insurance or either in time or the proper insurance.
And yet they're opening some sort of a weed dispensary or whatever you want to call it in Plainville, isn't it? And so you go there and you buy the stuff. You go out, you get in the car. Maybe you're not going to get into a fight like you might if you drunk too much.
Right. It's a huge issue. It's a huge issue in Massachusetts. There's going to be one in Millis, right on 109. So right next door. Yeah.
Where in Millis?
It's right next to, almost right across from Uncle Ned's Fish Factory, which is right
down there.
Yeah. So there's going to be one
That's
right down
almost
there.
in Medway, isn't it?
By the self-storage. There's a
yes, I know exactly where that is.
Yep, there's going to be one opening up there in the next 3 months. Already built. So get ready.
That makes me think of something else. That woman that wanted to open that salon down on Pond Street.
Yes.
Anything on that? I drive by there all the
No,
time.
I guess they're still trying to work through it. I mean, they just have a lot of difficulties. It's tough. Opening up a business is difficult.
It looks like nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always the same when I go by.
Yeah.
Nobody's done anything inside that little
room.
room.
Well, they can't do anything yet because they still haven't got through the F11 process with the building department. So it's
that was a long time ago.
That was a while back. It's very frustrating.
And you specifically said it was a ZBA meeting, wasn't it?
It was. I asked the building commissioner and the planning board chairman. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame.
I bet she's sorry she got involved.
Well, it's just a lot of money, and they bought the building, and it's a shame that they can't move forward. And we're trying to promote business in town. It's very difficult. It's too bad. Too bad.
Well, can't there be any way to intercede in that?
You can't. You have to let the process. I mean, they're working with the building department, so unless they come back to the zoning board, then we can intercede a little bit. But she has not come back yet.
I wonder if she knows to do that.
She would know to do that. Yeah, I think she's got enough advice out there and people who are giving her advice to tell her.
Because I think, isn't she already restricted as to what she can do in there because of the water? I think she's going to have like 3 chairs, but she can't do. Well, she obviously would have to be able to wash people's hair and all, but I remember there was something that.
And hopefully they can get it resolved because I mean, Rocky's next door has done a nice job cleaning up his building. There's a trailer place 2 doors down.
Yep. Oh yeah.
There's the auto collision place across the street. So the area is starting to spruce up. So hopefully they can do something.
Now, what about I'm only half joking, but I had thought about that radio station.
Yes, the old radio station building. Yeah.
But I understand.
You want to buy it?
Well, it's for sale.
Yeah.
And there's not much of an extension of broadcast area, isn't that right?
Right.
I mean, you have to virtually be on street to hear. Well, what's the story with that? Who owns? What do you know about that place?
I don't know who owns it. I don't know who owns it.
So it's all defunct. It's not.
Yeah. It's gone.
Because a long time ago,
I think people have tried to over the years. I think there's a lot of money for that little space.
A long time ago, I called over there because I don't know. I mean, I was listening to them. I managed to get them. And I said, I could do that. I called. I hear this guy puffing on his cigarette. I know. No. I mean, you can actually hear the blowing of the smoke.
Through the phone, huh?
All righty. Now, let me just get, so I'm not too mixed up here.
Enough fun and frivolity, right?
I'm sorry, what?
Enough fun and frivolity, right?
Okay, the warrant was opened.
Yes.
And the warrant will close on 9/26.
Correct.
Now, last time I had those forms with me.
Yes.
And you said, and I'm going to do that, I'm going to talk to Rich McCarthy on Monday, but you said that, can you remember what you said,
No.
you said you said you don't need to use these until, And I don't think you were just speaking to me.
Well, I think it was a citizen petition.
Yes.
Right. So if you were looking to get the, you were going to determine whether or not the zoning board or the land use office would support this, and if the land use office would bring forward this
in my
warrant
case.
article, then you would not have to use that form. This form would be only if, as a citizen, you wanted to get the signatures and bring it forward to the town to be put on the warrant.
But what about if some other people have some other
Same thing.
ideas?
They can use that form. Yeah.
But how do they know whom to speak to?
They would have to go to the land use office because that would
Land
be
use?
land use, which would be Rich McCarthy. Right.
So any of the bylaw changes?
Any bylaw changes should go through the land use. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Because I'm gonna to see him and now another thing you had mentioned having 2 nights, one for zoning changes and a second for what?
Second for all the other, transfers and changes, capital expenditures. Yeah, but just because it's a long meeting, and as you know, we usually get a report from the schools, and we do capital expenditures. And I think zoning is very specific, and it sometimes is boorish.
Oh yes.
And a lot of people don't want
And boring.
And I just think that having it in 2 nights, maybe the first night do zoning, second night do the other general special town meeting events, just so people don't have to sit through it, or vice versa, that we don't put zoning at the end and have 6 people in the room,
Right.
which is a mistake.
True.
So there seems to be no way of, and typically they try to put the zoning at the very end, which I think would be a mistake. I'd rather see it up front so
Is
people
that
understand.
intentional, do you think?
I think there's sometimes it allows people who don't want to participate in it to leave. But I think it should be.
No, I mean, it's
I think it should be
intentional on
when
the
people are
planners of the-
fresh. Well, I don't know if it is or not, but I think it should be when people are fresh. I think we should discuss all those zoning changes because they are going to affect the business district in town. So we should all be fresh when we're reviewing them.
But do you think people balk about 2 nights?
I don't know.
I mean,
That's up
well,
to
I mean,
the
if they
town
balk, they must
moderator.
won't come and
Town moderator has to pick and choose.
Now he was invited to show up at that.
I think he was
meeting.
invited at that meeting, and
No response.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how it was laid out, but I think he's going to be coming to the next one. I think there's going to be he's going to be asked to come to the next meeting. So maybe it was just an email. Who knows how he was approached? But I mean, Moderator Talman usually does respond. So I'm sure he will be there on the 17th if asked.
Now, someone noticed and mentioned to me, and I mean, not because I was going to do, but just talking, had noticed that the sidewalk that goes down in front of the new bank building there and where the dance studio is wouldn't accommodate a wheelchair.
I think it's a pretty steep
It was
drop.
not just it wasn't just the slope, but the.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how that plays out. I haven't seen it yet. I know they just paved it last week, so I haven't seen it yet. And I don't know. I think the other side might accommodate.
Across the street?
Yeah, across the street by the.
And then they have to go down and cross.
So they could cross. So I don't know if both sides have to. I'm not familiar enough with ADAD laws to know that.
I wonder if they. Well, there's probably a ramp in the back at the parking lot.
Oh yeah. The space itself is handicapped accessible. I just don't know if that one slope is. But I don't think it ever was. So I don't know if he would have to comply with it on that side. But
Grandfathered in, sort of
no,
thing.
I don't know if it's grandfathered in, but I don't think because he didn't add it. It was already there. So I don't think we don't use the term grandfathering anymore.
Because I said this person, I said, well, how likely is it that they would be wanting to use the mailbox in the front of town hall and then make their way down?
Yeah.
I mean, someone said, well, it's still in all. I mean, that's
right.
the
But
whole.
I think they can cross up at the point of town hall and the library. So I think as long as there is a handicapped accessible area, they can get down there. But it's a very nice building. I guess it's open for the credit union, which is great. And hopefully they'll complete it soon, and it'll be a nice addition to the center.
Now, that makes me think of something else. Oh, no, before I go on, he also had said, or they also had said, he said something about the angle when the two walls meet, he thought was very sharp.
Yeah.
I haven't seen. I was going to see it.
It is sharp. It's a sharp angle.
Is it a corner there?
Yeah. It's the way they designed the landscaping. It's got 2 areas that come to almost a point.
But why couldn't they have gotten like a beveled stone like they do in?
I think running out of room, in order to make the sidewalks work, I think they ran out of room. And obviously, radius takes more room than a point. So I think that's why. Yeah, yeah.
And and there was one other thing about that place. He also mentioned that he thought there was sort of an impermeable surface over there that they had used. And aren't they supposed to? Remember, we had that presentation about the gardens.
I think it's not completed yet. There's going to be those areas where I think we're saying it looks like it's sand right now.
Yes,
That's actually going to get a synthetic type grass in all those areas.
But that's not going to hold the water.
No, it won't hold the water, so it will be permeable. And I think what you're seeing, that sand is not impermeable. I think that's actually an engineered substrate that will actually allow the water to actually go through it.
So there's going to be not a real plant?
No, not real grass.
Plants.
Not real grass. It will be actually synthetic grass. It looks exactly like real grass.
So how is that going to be permeable?
Because it's actually all webbed. So oh yeah. It's very expensive, but because he cannot have irrigation over there, this was the choice. So I think it's a very good choice.
Oh, all right,
Yeah.
all right. That must have been.
It should look pretty. Spiffy when it's done. Stay tuned.
Oh, there was one other. Oh, I almost forgot this. That's right. I don't have these done very well.
No, because this had nothing to do with the selectmen's meeting. This is you and your friend who's out there perusing the town looking for problems. So you have me here, so I got to give you answers. I have nothing to do with the bank, but all right. Just asking all kinds of questions about things.
But it takes me back to that town hall meeting.
Yes.
Now, somebody had said they thought Jay should make it more user. Well, this was in connection with David speaking at the user friendly. Well, that is not going to happen. Nothing's going to be.
The moderator. It's the moderator's decision how he runs the meeting, and
therefore
that's how it'll be done.
But you suggested running a raffle.
Yeah, well, I said you want to get. I mean, I think at the last town meeting, it was apparent that as soon as the vote for the roof got taken, 200 people.
They've been doing that for years.
Yeah, 200 people left the building, and it's a darn shame. So I think if you want to, I said if you want to get people to come to the town meeting, have a raffle. 2 tickets to the Patriots game, but you got to lock the doors so that they can't leave after the raffle.
So you think it'd be too pathetic to have?
No, I think it's great. I think it's a great idea.
Oh,
I was thinking of donating one of my cars. I'll donate a car. The winner will, have a raffle, and the winner gets a car, right?
One of your cars. Oh,
sure, there we go.
Oh, that'll be the day. That'll be more likely that Jay Talman will change the structure of a town meeting than one of those cars will leave those rooms. You also mentioned oh yes, that's right, because you all had promised people a discussion about the safety building issue and finances.
Yes.
So when will that take place?
I guess new town council's coming in to meet with the board on the 17th.
Oh, yeah, new.
And that's going to be one of the topics we're going to have a discussion about. But I think it's very important. I think it was brought up at town meeting. It was brought up during the election. It was brought up after the election that people would like to understand.
But when's it going to be?
It has to. We all agreed that it would happen before or at special town meeting. So it has to happen. The people were promised, and I think they're owed that. They're owed, and because there has been no explanation. And matter of fact, no one knows how much money has been overspent. How
can they not?
Well, no, I shouldn't say no one. The citizens don't know. Obviously,
right.
Todd Lindmark knows, but I think it's.
And you all know.
Yeah, I think it's.
And you have to say about
I think it's very important for the public to understand where the money went. You wouldn't do it in your own home. We shouldn't do it on a municipal level without an explanation. And I think it's important for people to understand. And we did agree to do it before or at town meeting, and therefore I want to make sure that happens.
Now there's a new attorney. Now, has anybody met him or seen him at any of these meetings yet?
He hasn't. I think he's been in town many times over the years. But his name is Peter Mello.
What was the other one's name? Loconti or something?
No, the other one was Dave DeLuca. Was a prior.
Almost.
They're both at the same firm. Murphy Hess. Yeah, there was. We're using. It's
so why'd they switch it up?
It's just a change of guard. This town administrator thought it might be good to have a fresh face and different perspective. So they went with a different attorney within the firm.
Is he a younger fellow? Do you know?
I don't know. I'll meet him on the 17th. So. Okay.
And also, actually, this also wasn't mentioned but
this is from one of your friends again?
The stage.
Your spies running around town?
Well, not I wish I had spies. I swear. That I wish I did have spies. They're going to have a meeting at the Freeman Kennedy that I think Calcutt is running on the 12th of September.
Yes.
And what's that going to be about?
That is a public opinion or public review for the public of the business district zoning changes. That there's been that business district commission
Are
who have
these
been working.
proposed changes?
Yes, these are proposed changes. So this will be public input and public review of those prior to town meeting. So very important meeting.
But hasn't it been said many times that it's all about water?
All about water, all about infrastructure. So it'll be very interesting to see what they're proposing.
Because in connection with that, when the town hall was built, they put in, I guess, okay, it was again the sage of North Street, but he was telling me that for many, many years underneath Town Hill, there are these, what they call beehives, or it's a type of structure that has, I guess, holes for pipes. Mm-hmm. Did you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're
Is it a beehive, or if I?
That's one term, yeah. Okay.
And so I guess they didn't want to go put water under the street, under Liberty Lane,
Yep.
to take it over to Town Hill and let it go down that way. Mm-hmm. So they ended up building something in front of Town Hall instead of using the structures underground.
Okay.
Just saying. Because it was all.
That's a topic for the sage of North Street, as you refer to it.
No, I'm just bringing that up because this whole business about water.
Well, the water is not getting it here. The issue is that it really isn't water. We have water. It's the infrastructure. It's stormwater is the concern, and wastewater treatment. That's the big concern. We don't have that's very difficult here in the center of town because of the zoning requirements. So that's what's important.
Somebody mentioned at the ZBA about Highland Lake being fed by
By Stop River.
Stop River.
Correct.
In conjunction with 144 and all of that.
Right.
And and oh yes, somebody said something about a 25-year storm. What is that?
That was ZBA meeting. You're jumping to the ZBA meeting. This was a review of 201 and 220 Main Street, a special permit modification.
But what does that mean, 25-year storm?
25. The pipes are
last for 25 years.
No. Oh. The 25-year storm would be maximum amount of water, entering those pipes.
Like say over a term of 25 years.
No, but within a 25-year period. So in other words,
right.
I think in 2000 and. What was it, 2004, 2005, we had that major storm where we had a major flooding here in town. The amount of rainfall that would be entering those pipes, that's the 25-year storm. Yeah. So. And
then they have a 100-year storm.
I'm sure and I did not know this till the other night, is that pipes are rated for at a 25-year storm, and ponds and retention areas are 100-year. So they're looked at over 100-year storms. So very interesting. But that's been taken care of. That was a special permit modification that's been sort of languishing out there for 14 years. So it's good to get it done.
Now, what's the latest with Quaglieri?
Quaglieri is 194 Main Street, a special
permit. That was
permit.
mentioned at ZBA last night.
There was a question whether or not it would be affected.
Not in regard necessarily.
It would be affected by this special permit modification. It does not. He is actually connected already to the Northern Intercept. 194, so it doesn't affect him, and actually his development is going to reduce the amount of impervious surface that would be entering the Northern Intercept. He's actually going to.
What's the Northern?
The Northern Intercept is the piping that actually picks up most of the stormwater in the center of town, off of Boardman Street, and brings it down to Town Pond.
But that would only be an issue if that building was taken down.
If it was taken down and made more impervious surface at it, but he's actually going to build a structure there. He's probably going to use some of the rainwater that. And
you think that's going to go through?
Oh, I don't know. It's before the zoning board.
So you wouldn't. I mean, how does it seem to stand now? I mean, I know
They're still. They haven't even. They've just appointed peer reviewers. They haven't even taken testimony yet. So it's a ways away. But it's going to be a number of apartments, which again meets our 10% quota for affordables, which would be great. Would help towards that, And
Not great having apartments in town, though,
Well,
in my opinion.
yeah, yeah.
Now, on the leading from water. See, there is a thread to this. You just
There is.
You
I'm
just not pursued
just
well.
not understanding it.
Now, on the
But
water
that's okay.
water tank,
Yes, the Weber water tank,
right?
named
now,
after
is it
Charlie
gonna
Weber.
Is it going to say T-Mobile?
No.
Because they're putting a
They're putting their
Yeah, what-
antennas up, but we're not gonna rename the water tower. It will always be named the Weber Water Tower after Charlie Weber.
and I guess they're going to be giving the town $35,000 a year.
$35,000 is for the first year, and then there's an escalator in there of 3% for the years after.
my Lord.
Yeah, so it's actually a very good deal.
Gee, 3%. Now, you said something about the water. Could you talk about the Water Enterprise Fund, because that money is going into that, and you.
Right. Well, the Water Enterprise Fund it's used for obviously capital improvements to the equipment in town. It's used for new trucks. It's used to maintain the stormwater system that is up at in the wastewater treatment plant that feeds Meeting House Hill, and so a lot of money is going in there from different sources. And there's one person who has property up at Meeting House Hill, Borelli, who was the developer.
Why should he still be paying into it?
Because he still owns property up there, so he has a percentage of obviously he has to pay a percentage towards that wastewater treatment plant, and he hasn't been paying
Well,
it.
how's he gotten away with
Well,
it?
because they haven't pursued it. But the issue there is that if we have this enterprise fund, and we're also at one point when we purchased that wastewater treatment plant, we were going to make it self-sufficient. We were going to maintain it in town. We haven't got to that point. So we're still using
Do you
white
think that's
water.
why he doesn't pay?
No, I think he just doesn't feel like he has to pay. But we just want to make sure that that enterprise fund is being used appropriately, and that I just don't know why we would put money, because we have an antenna on the water tower, in the enterprise fund. I would hope that it would go into a general fund, and we could make sure that it's into the budget somewhere and used for anything dealing with the center of town, not just the water enterprise fund. Just because it's on the water tower, I don't understand why it went to the water department. To me, it just, I mean, if we pursue, it just seemed odd to me. But that's where it goes. But I think, I did explain to
that
Blythe
too.
that I think it's important that they watch that water enterprise fund. How's it being used? And if we're running a deficit, we should find out why.
And how much would Borelli be paying if he paid?
I don't know his percentage. There's a calculation. Walgreens pays into it. The folks up at Meeting House pay into it. He's supposed to pay into it. So it should be, and again, it's supposed to make sure that it covers all the costs of that wastewater treatment plant.
How is it that somebody owes money
And gets
and
away
doesn't-
with it.
Yeah.
Not
Who's
right.
responsible for
That would go through the DPW, so the DPW should be collecting that. And if they can't collect it, they should come to the select board and ask for assistance in order,
just
or
makes
town,
you-
and with town council to get it.
It just makes you shake your head. I mean,
Yeah, it's unacceptable.
it's just like what you were talking about with people, and I can't remember now what it was you said, but somebody, you wouldn't do it in your house,
Right.
and you wouldn't just let somebody that owed you money just
Not pay.
not pay. All right, so, okay.
It's important.
Oh, yes. The comments at the Board of Selectmen. Now, there was a case in Natick in which I guess the school committee didn't like something that was said at was it a Board of Selectmen? Oh,
No, it was
a
a school committee meeting, yep.
And so, is there some kind of assessment or some kind of a description of things that can't be said? I mean, isn't it kind of common sense that if somebody goes in and
I would-
curses
That's what I said. I think
insults people,
if someone wants to come in and talk to the
threatens-
Board of the Select Board, hopefully they understand that they should be professional, courteous, and hopefully, I think it's nice to have a written policy, but I mean, you hope that people understand protocol and follow it.
Now, it also is supposed to be something that's under the purview of the Board of Selectmen.
Correct.
Now, what is it that the Board of Selectmen doesn't? What does the Board of Selectmen not control?
The school budget.
Oh, that's right. Now, let me ask you, what about if somebody comes with an issue, not necessarily in a public forum, but about, does the Board of Selectmen have anything to do with, say, dealing with leadership in some of these other boards?
Well, the Board of Selectmen appoints, obviously,
No, I
members
know.
of boards.
No, but I mean, something if-
But as far as controlling the boards, or very.
I don't mean controlling
not really.
from making their decisions. So I mean, but I mean maybe if there's somebody that doesn't let people speak, or somebody who's
If there's
domineering.
an issue, I think if a chairman or a member of a board did something outrageous, it would be the Board of Selectmen who would ask them to step down. I think that's a good way of putting that. Yeah, because they do appoint them.
So you don't need to sign up for the citizens. But you don't need to sign up.
Nope. You can come in. It'll be the first 15 minutes, and if
And
no
you
one's there,
3 minutes each.
Well, they would like to hold conversation to 3 minutes.
Now, what if
For
there's
you.
only 2 people? Couldn't they speak for 7.5 minutes?
No.
Oh, for the.
I think there'll be some latitude there. I think it will be the chairman's prerogative, but I think there'll be some latitude there. And it's really to let them discuss their item. There won't be a lot of back and forth discussion between the select board and the person, because it would violate the open meeting laws. So it really will be just airing their.
It'll be videotaped.
Yeah, but they'll be airing their grievances. But because it will not be. We will not be sort of deliberating. It'll just be allowing them to explain to the board some of their concerns, and then it will be taken up at a further time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there won't be a lot of back and forth. Yeah,
Oh.
So don't expect it. Yeah.
That's just kind of disappointing. I was.
I'm sure you are. You won't have to write as much.
I'd have to write more.
That's
I'd have to write what
I said you
said.
won't have to write as much. That'll be great. You can listen.
Because I often find, I mean, I was just thinking to myself, I guess something else to come up, that I sometimes I listen, and I for example, I'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
Now, David Rosenberg was on the schedule.
Yes.
And he's a much nicer person than either of us. It's particularly nicer than you.
That's your opinion, I guess.
And-
Just saying, right?
But I don't know. He thinks that there's some sort of a way to get people to come to those meetings, short of an ice cream social, what have you.
Right.
And I mean, he'd have to start a babysitting business, a handyman's business, a financial that's what people are tearing their hair out over at night.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna.
It's very difficult. I think we've seen a little more participation. I mean, just the fact that a couple of people are coming to selectmen's meetings, and people feel they can talk to the select board. I think we're going to open up. We're going to have office hours for the select board starting this month coming up. I think these are really ways of improving citizen participation. I think it's going to be very difficult to change the culture of people who go to town meeting. We know who they are.
Right.
You can almost look in the audience and say, David Rosenberg's going to sit in the front seat,
And they
3
tend
over.
to be older people that don't
And it
have.
tends to be the people who, when I was younger, I used to go to the selectmen's meeting. It depends what your level of interest is in town government. And sad to say, in this society, a lot of people are, if it isn't particular to them, people don't participate in these type of events.
Or they think they won't understand.
And that's one of the things that we want to work on, is that, the warrant is structured, but something along with the warrant to help people understand what's going on. What are these articles that are on the warrants? And I called them crib sheet at the meeting, but something so people don't feel like it's above their head or they just don't understand it.
But they published that booklet that explains them.
It explains it, but not, I don't think, in enough detail for a lot of people. A lot of people don't understand what they're referring to. I mean, they use terms that most people
That's true.
don't see on a daily basis. So hopefully we can make it more user-friendly so people, if they feel there's an issue, will show up. And I think that's really what David is trying to work towards. And I know he wants participation in every group, but it's hard. People are busy. People have busy lives.
Now, okay. Now, I'll let you go ahead and talk about this. That whole traffic thing at Everett and 115. Now, there was a video.
Yeah, a couple of videos. Yeah.
And so, okay. In Bly's notes, she mentions 822 and she mentions 829. I guess she was saying that.
Right.
And of course, 829's gone by.
Those were the two pre-game meetings.
And she
shows.
wanted 5 rather than 3 cruisers. However, people were calling over there and complaining.
Right.
And then if apparently somebody said it was a 20-minute delay for the officer showing up.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I don't see where people would have any reason to make stuff up if they're, right. And so, well, go ahead. You can.
Well, there's a couple of issues over there on Everett Street and 115. The folks who live on Everett Street have for years asked for more road bumps to slow down traffic.
Oh.
Maybe some.
There are none, are there?
There are. Oh yeah, there are a couple, but I think they took one out actually.
And they're pretty shallow, aren't they? Because I don't remember.
There's a couple that are a little bit deeper, and there's one that's shallow.
On 115
no,
or
on Everett Street.
Where does Everett lead up to?
Towards Walpole.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the people there say the traffic is just too fast. Still on Everett Street. So they'd like more speed bumps. They'd like to see some changes in traffic patterns during events at Patriot Place. And they also would like to be able to get in and out of the street during these events. So there's a couple of different problems. The speed and the road functions, how it functions during events, has been an ongoing issue that I think the people on Everett Street feel that they've been getting lip service to, and they would like some real action. And I think Blythe is going to talk and I think that's going to be, according to the chairman, that's going to be a separate meeting that we're going to discuss speed and that road.
Among yourselves?
No, I think we're going to hopefully have the police chief in. We'll probably hopefully have the DPW director
Will it be
in.
open meeting?
Yeah, it'll be during a selectmen's meeting.
Oh, during a selectmen's meeting.
So hopefully we can sort of make some changes and find out what we can do to improve Everett Street. Then there's the issue of game days, is the effects of traffic on 115 and Everett Street. People getting in and out of Everett Street and playing chicken on 115 and Everett Street.
Well, that's just it, because, because Cece was saying something about, she thought maybe organic traffic, but it's not going to be better, because if you get an aggressive driver and you get somebody who's timid, then they don't get out.
And I think that was the point of having police, we call it boots on the ground. There's a policeman there, and I guess
which is different from the cruisers being.
Different than a cruiser going by, and I think the issue is do you direct traffic with a policeman, which will have to create a four-way sort of stop, or do you just have a policeman there? I think the point is, like Walpole had, is have police presence, whether it be on the side of the road, standing there, but at least have an officer outside of a cruiser standing there, so that if you're going to try to play chicken, he's going to note it, and hopefully it won't happen as much. So I think there's two different things going on there at Everett Street. One is the traffic during these games, and having an officer there in case we need him outside of his cruiser to work the street. And the second issue is speed and how that road functions during these games. Should it be a one-way? Should it be residents only during the game night? So I think those are two separate issues, but both will have to continue to be looked at.
So in effect, she had said she wanted 5 cruisers there.
Well, I think they said there was 5 officers on duty. And they
weren't there.
Well, according to the videos and the people who live on Everett Street, a cruiser did not show up till 6:45. Now the lieutenant had mentioned that he did have cruisers
from 4 o'clock on.
He had people in the area, but I think what they were looking for was an actual officer outside his cruiser standing there, and that didn't happen.
And so Chief Stone was there.
Correct. Chief Stone, Deputy Chief Carroll, and Lieutenant Shannon.
Now we come to the little room.
The little room. The police room.
Now, okay. Just to carve one section of it out that I got very upset about. Supposedly this was all approved at some meeting.
Right.
For which there are no minutes.
Right.
I mean, I just think it's outrageous.
Yeah, I think the fact that they can't find
she'll never find out.
The fact they can't find the minutes to when this was approved, the actual approval of this room and its quote reconfiguration is embarrassing. It shouldn't happen, and I think there certainly could have been a number of different ways to have a room available if someone was coming in off the street and needed to see a police officer. I think, and I said, and I said it in the last meeting, in light of the fact that we know we were over budget on the police station, you would think we would tighten our belts and be very cautious with any money spent from that capital budget.
Because we're talking about $3,800.
It's only, and you could say it's only $3,800, but it's $3,800 spent that really
didn't need to be spent.
That would not at this time certainly probably should have been looked at before it was spent, in light of the fact that we're trying to either revamp or rebuild the fire station.
So part of the expense was cutting a wall,
The biggest part of the expense was cutting in a door into the concrete wall that's in the lobby, which is questionable because there's a number of doors that could have been used for access. Yeah.
Now, so what do you make of all? Who is going to be coming? I mean, almost everybody has phones, or they know somebody who has a phone. What's the likelihood of somebody coming? It sounds like something from a novel in the 19th century. Somebody coming up, struggling to get to the ringing the bell.
I think the select board, the new building committee, will be looking very carefully at whether or not there should be a police room inside the fire department in the future, because
But now the money's gone.
the money for this one, it's gone. But remember, this building may be torn down at some point. So the whole idea of why this money was spent, I think, is it probably, I don't think it was prudent. I think we should have. I think it should not have been done. I think somebody should have stepped back and said, let's wait and see where we go with the fire department. So a little bit disappointing, because I think there's plenty of rooms in that building that could have been used if somebody had to go and meet with an officer.
And when you walk in there was a window, and they would be back there. And then there was a door over to the left.
Correct. That led you to the fire department.
Right. And then there's a door on the right.
There's a door on the right that led you to the chief's office and and his assistant's office.
And you were saying that those two rooms.
Why couldn't I just felt you could have used that door? Even though it supposedly had a buzzer on it, you could remove the buzzer and use that door to go in. You could have just made one of those rooms simply the new room. You wouldn't have to cut the door.
Because Assistant Chief,
Carroll.
Deputy Chief Carroll said at one point, he said, well, then that would leave people the freedom to walk around the station. Did I hear that? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I think.
I didn't understand what they would have been
This
escorted.
is going to be somebody who's going to be with the police officer. So,
what did that mean?
Yeah, to me, I think, again, it was a bad project. It should not have been done. Hopefully they've learned their lesson. Hopefully the town administrator knows not to allow these things. And I did mention to her afterwards that I hope we are not spending any more money from that capital budget unless it's approved by the building committee or the select board.
And the other thing I noticed was when you said it's $4,000 down the drain, they didn't defend them. I mean, they made no defense.
Well, there was the issue was there was an air quality test done in that building recently, and to determine whether or not there was mold and mildew. And
that was before the room was fixed.
No, this was after. This was just done.
So you
the
mean
question
they
was,
had the question of the air, and they still went with the room?
Exactly. And if it did not pass the air quality test, they would have actually had to evacuate that building, which would have meant that $3,800 was down the drain.
Really down? I mean, really?
Yeah. So it really was. It was just very poor planning, very poor administration. Completely disappointing. And I think that was Cece's point: is how did this happen, and on whose watch?
Well, we know whose watch.
Yeah. So.
But it just struck me funny that they didn't defend it.
No. How do you defend it?
Okay, let's see. I already did all that. Okay, so the selectmen's out now. Well, they're going to rotate the selectmen.
Correct.
On those. If they want you, they're going to have to figure out when you'll be there, as opposed to.
That's right. The others.
Or
yeah.
Kevin and so forth.
Yep.
Who's going to run that meeting on the 12th at the Freeman Kennedy? Because there's
an
Mass
organization.
area.
Yeah, there was a grant for this project, and the folks who got the grant. I don't know what the acronym.
Are they the ones that were? God help us. There was some. You were there. I was there. I mean.
Yes.
What's her?
Yes.
Betsy was there.
Yes.
I thought I was going to die of boredom. I mean, they went on. The same ones?
Yes.
Terrible.
Hopefully they're listening. They'll know to improve it.
But it was just
it's
round and
well,
around
they've come a
and
long
around
way.
and around.
They've come a long way. So let's.
Well, how do you know that?
Well, because I think they've done a lot of work. The committee, remember, there's been a committee made up of the different departments in town. They've put a lot of time into trying to bring forward some zoning changes. So it should be.
But that has nothing to do with whatever we've done here. Is not going to change what kind of presentation.
Oh, you never know. Sure, give them faith. Have faith. I'll be there. I'm sure you'll be there. We can talk about it.
I mean, it was really. It was. I mean, he meant well.
Yeah.
Do you remember it,
I
right?
remember it.
Oh,
I was there.
gee.
Yes, I was there.
Anything about the walls on Town Hill?
Nothing yet.
Has anybody been
I
approached by that
I would
or
think that
about
Scott
that?
Bragdon should be looking into it. Obviously, as
Now,
an
who is he?
He's the HR director, and I think he does some work with the insurances.
What's he going to do with?
Well, it's insurances as well. I think he handles some of the insurances between him and Todd Lindmark. They look at our insurances. So to me, this is obviously affects our insurance if we don't do something about it. So I think they have to look into it, look into the regs, work with the building commissioner, and find out what the law states we have to do, and then we have to do something there. So we avoid the liability.
And is the investigation ongoing with Quaglieri's complaints?
That's ongoing, yes, still ongoing.
So do you all get reports on that?
We hopefully it will at some point. We will have a report. Yes, yeah, nothing yet, but hopefully in the future. I think the fuse is very short on that, so we'll be hearing something soon.
That's an unfortunate metaphor.
Yes.
Not an analogy, a metaphor.
A metaphor. Yes.
All righty, I think we just about wrung the truth out of Jive here.
Have you? Good. Good. Yeah, I think you've. Yep, I think we have a special selectmen meeting next Tuesday at 5 o'clock.
Again, another one?
Yes, on the 10th at 5 o'clock.
For public?
Interviews for yeah.
I've got to go to that too.
You do interviews for the new fire chief.
Oh, it's not a regular meeting.
Not a regular meeting. It's interviews.
And it's
for
open
the
to the public.
Yes, interviews for the new fire chief.
This coming Tuesday
at
at 5.
5 o'clock. So we have 3 candidates. So hopefully we'll be able to pick a fire chief.
Do you know
soon.
anything about them?
I don't know anything about any of the 3 yet. I know that none of them are from town, which is
Might
too
be
bad.
a good thing. Oh.
Which is too bad. The department.
You mean
In other words,
proximity?
folks from the department. Folks.
Oh, I see what you
folks
mean.
from the department. But I guess they had a number of candidates, so they've whittled it down to 3. So it should be interesting.
And who has done the whittling? Who has done the?
It's the town administrator, the HR director, Peter Pachuchek, the deputy chief, has been involved. I think the fire chief from Foxborough has volunteered his services and helped with it as well. So they've and then they go through an assessment review, how they would handle situations. So it's quite a process. So they're down to 3. I do know one. I know of one of them, who is he's an ex-football player. So I'll leave it at that.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. Oh, yes. There was one other thing. You had said a while back something about a new aquifer coming online.
The
well, I meant.
The Holbrook station on Holbrook Street. Yeah, we have no new information on that yet. That takes some time to do, but yeah, that's the Holbrook well coming online, hopefully next year.
And what do they have to do for that? They have to go
a lot of state filings. Well, yeah, they have
What-
to put a well in, but there's a lot of work ahead of that.
Does the state give any money towards that?
I don't think so. I think that's all.
Really?
Yeah, yep, that's all the town. We own it.
Well, that must be what hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes, very expensive. Very expensive. So that's going on. I think. Is there anything else going on that we didn't talk about? I think we zoning board is Lakeland Hills is ongoing. We had a meeting last night. Went very well. A lot of work to do on that. So that should be interesting.
He always says, and I don't know why, but he always says
He
hello to
being
me.
The
Mr. O'Hare.
Mr. O'Hare.
Hart.
Yes.
I don't even know. He always
He's
says,
a-
and I think it's because when he had that little party at
Yes.
the saloon,
Uh-huh.
I was the only, well, there were a couple of other people from Sayin Street, but I live quite a ways down. I mean, really, but I went just to be nosy, and he remembers me from going to that.
Probably from being nosy.
From going
Right.
to that thing, because there were very few people that showed up.
Yeah.
But he has that Irish charm when he wants to,
He does.
He can
does.
be,
Yeah.
the Irish they're a complicated people. They are. I mean,
Get yourself in trouble here. I don't know how many Irish people are in town.
oh
You
well,
better
I
be
did.
careful.
I knew from teaching in Boston, boy.
There you go.
That was trial by fire. Well, so thank you for watching. And we've been talking here. We've been just saying. I'm here with the selectman, Christopher Weeder, and I'm Anne Marie Battistone. Thanks to Jen in the control room for keeping up with us, and she might have to do some editing. But we'll look for you next time, and thanks very much for watching. And we hope you learned something. And remember,
Just saying.
that's right. Good for you.